how to align sales and marketing with account-based marketing. Today, my guests are Karen Avelis with Centrica Business Solutions and Sadram Wajay with Terminus. So before we kick off, I'm going to have them both introduce themselves and kind of give you a little background why they're here and what they do. So let's start with Karen.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here today. So Karen Avelis, I lead demand generation and field marketing for a company called Centrica Business Solutions. And we help large commercial and industrial customers with their energy needs. So helping them be more sustainable with things like solar or EV solutions, and helping them be resilient with things like backup generators and making sure that their operations are running 24/7. And we have deployed some account-based marketing programs at our company, which I'll share a little bit more about today. And before I came to Centrica for the past 3 years, I spent 10 years in telecommunications with Verizon, both on the wireless and the wireline sides of the business. And then prior to that, I was in pharmaceutical sales for 3 years.
All right, outstanding.
Wow. Yeah, and that's fantastic. And I love that you have field marketing as part of your background, because I think I can wait to get into that. Is like, I feel like that's almost like the silver bullet of ABM. Mm-hmm. People who understand field marketing, understands the importance of sales, and understands that their job is kind of to drive business. So love that. Sangram here. I'm the co-founder of a company called Terminus based in Atlanta. I've written a couple of books on account-based marketing, so that just makes me get out there and talk about it all the more passionately. Prior to that, I ran marketing at Pardot. We got acquired by Salesforce. So I was at Salesforce for a couple of years. And many things. I think I feel like it's a dawn for new level of marketing. I've been caught saying this, that B2B does not stand for boring to boring. It could stand for better to better if you wanted to. So hopefully ABM is a path towards that.
All right. Well, thank you both. And again, I'm Russell Davis, Director of Business Development, Turbine Labs. And Turbine Labs provides air coverage to your intelligence blind spots. So, we help companies like Centrica and partner with companies such as Terminus. So this should be a great conversation today. So let's kick it off. And the first question I have is for Karen. Why go to ABM?
Sure. So first of all, let me just start off by saying ABM is not a buzzword. And I think in the early days, so many marketers sort of said, well, I'm going to let someone else figure this out to start and see if it's really something that I should be looking at. And I'm here to tell you that ABM is absolutely delivering revenue for companies and improving the return on investment of the marketing efforts. Now, I will say my answer 6 months ago about why ABM might have been slightly different, right? It was just part of our strategic marketing plan. But I think now, in the face of everything we've experienced with COVID, I would tell you it's essential. We have got to be giving hyper-targeted, client-centric marketing, because there's just not a tolerance for irrelevant messages in the market today.
No, absolutely.
I don't know about anyone else, but I will admit that I have unsubscribed from more newsletters and emails in the past 6 months than I probably ever have in my career. And so it's really important that we start bringing the right message to the right people at the right time. And from a demand gen perspective, I mean, most of our tactics are gone, right? Those big trade shows and conferences where you got huge lead lists of hundreds of thousands of people that you could nurture and bring through to marketing qualified lead, I don't have those opportunities anymore. So I would almost flip the question and say, why not ABM? And I'll just add, another thought here. There's typically 4 main drivers. At least these are the 4 main drivers that ITSMA typically refers to. And the first one is account penetration. So if you think about the old 80-20 rule, 80% of your business is coming from 20% of your customers. How do you grow that wallet share, maybe even defend your marketplace and position with those top clients? The second key driver is around changing perception. So a lot of us now are faced to change our business models as COVID starts to impact our industries. And we may need to actually shift people from thinking, maybe in my industry, thinking sometimes of energy as a commodity and more of an actual business solution to your challenges and problems. And you can use an account-based marketing program to help shift position and perception within your clients.
Okay.
The third main driver is around getting those huge opportunities. I think about it around like RFPs. And you have to be careful when you're using it to pursue big deals, because sometimes there's a tendency to go after an account. We put all this energy, time, and love up front, and then we get the deal and we walk away. And that's not the point of account-based marketing, right? It has to carry on past getting the deal. And then the fourth area is around developing new accounts and going after some of your key logos that maybe help you dominate in a specific category, or maybe they're really important to that specific region that you're doing business in.
Okay.
And so as we go through the webinar today, I'll spend some time talking about the first driver and the fourth driver, because that's where we've spent the most time at Centrica Business Solutions in generating cross-sell and expanding wallet share in current accounts, and also going after some key new logos.
Okay, that's really good. So Sangram, why did you start Terminus?
I'll tell you a cool story around it. It's not cool when it happened, but it's cool to actually reflect back and think about it. So when I was running marketing at Pardot, as I said, I was at Salesforce through the acquisition. And I remember there was this distinct quarter where we meet every single goals that was there on the OKRs for marketing. Number of leads, number of event attendees, number of events we did, number of webinars, number of downloads, all the things. And we started celebrating as a team. Like we were like, whoa, we made it. Like, this is great. Our sales leader came in and said, Sangram, you and your team have done fantastic. Now that we're part of Salesforce, even a bigger driver for all these top of the funnel things. And then that very moment, he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, can you generate 1,000 more net new leads next month? And I just sank in my seat, right? I'm like, wait a minute. I just felt like we had the best month ever. And like, I think it was like 30,000 or something like that. And I felt we did great. And now I need to generate 1,000 more. And I'm like, what do we think? Like, do we think that we have this unbelievable amount of market just sitting there ready to come in? We're spending so much time on top. Nobody's talking about pipeline velocity. Nobody's talking about what Karen just mentioned around the existing deals and making it bigger and pushing it forward. And at that very moment, I decided that I don't want to be a coin-operated lead machine. Like, that is not what I want. I don't think about that as myself. I don't think marketers should think about themselves as that. So that led on a journey to somehow how God leads different things together. Is like I met two other co-founders who were technology focused, and there we are. We started Terminus in 2014 with that single idea that we are not going to focus on leads. We're going to drive demand through accounts. Okay, all right.
So Karen, as you start taking that journey, down the path of account-based marketing, how do you distinguish between that and inbound marketing as far as the value add?
Yeah, and it's tough because that's exactly, to Sangram's point, is a lot of businesses say, yes, we value long-term growth, we value relationships with our clients, we want to grow our most strategic accounts, and then they do exactly what they did to Sangram and turn around to the demand gen team and go, where's my 100 or 1,000 leads or whatever the number is? Yeah. And it's like, wait a second, we just said this. And it really does. Account-based marketing flips all of that, because you're just starting with the customer and how much can you grow within that customer. And so there's a lot of upfront work that has to go into selecting the accounts for account-based marketing. I mean, that was actually one of our challenges that we had in the beginning when we were looking at these accounts, was especially when you're going after accounts that are new. You don't have a relationship with it. How much can I actually drive in this account? How much do we think we can get from them? And does it warrant truly making them a member of our account-based marketing program? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done up front to really evaluate the culture of the organization. Even your sales reps, are they ready to have that kind of relationship with a client where it isn't just like, hey, marketing, where's my next lead? I'm going to close the contract and walk away. You really need them to be dedicated and to be structured in a way that they can invest that time and that their goals and their metrics and their KPIs match up to a program like that so that they aren't also, have a certain number of accounts that they need to bring in. We already know the accounts that they should be assigned to, and we need them to work in this type of program.
Yeah, and I'll add something to what Karen just mentioned. It's since 5 years that's all I've done. Like that's all I get to talk to and write about and do conversations on. And here's what I've found, and I'm curious. We did not prep, so whatever your answer is, your answer, both for Russell and both for Karen. So it should be interesting. I feel, and I've seen this happen over and over again. So there's some data, but I haven't done a full-on study on this thing. But I feel like if you do the account-based marketing programs right, it means you're focused on the right accounts, you're driving conversations with them, you're getting more people per account into it, to your point of account penetration, Karen, you just mentioned, around that, you're actually, what I've seen happen over and over again, is your inbound goes up.
Interesting.
From the right accounts, because chances are, and I think it happens to all of us, right? All right, this rep has reached out to me. I've seen their ads. I've seen direct mail from him. I've seen conversations. 4 people have got emails and things are happening. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go check them out. So I go to turbinelabs.com. I'm going to check them out. Like, okay, what are these folks all about? And then, okay, well, maybe I need to talk to them, and then I'll download something, and then you're inbound. So it's like, I've seen this happen more often than not, that a lot of people struggle with is, where do I give credit? Because that's where channel-oriented conversation starts happening. Am I a demand gen person? I'm a field marketing person. I'm a content person. I'm an event, all that stuff. But more often than not, I've seen, if you do ABM right, I've seen inbound from the right accounts go significantly up, which leads to a higher close rate, because inbound typically have a higher close rate than outbound. So I'm curious to get your thoughts.
So do you think that's part of the reason, I think, was it a Forrester research a couple of years back, that customers are disqualifying vendors like at 57%? So when they call you, they've already qualified you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what normally ends up happening as a salesperson is, first thing you want to do is change that buyer's journey to your sales journey, which you're starting to qualify them all over again. Yeah. Where they already qualified themselves.
Oh my God! Like this is okay. I'm going to pause after this. I promise. But this like it would jump in a soapbox, because this is the greatest challenge that I've seen with the whole MQL, SQL, and all those things. We needed that process because we didn't know who was coming through the funnel.
Right. Because
you're generating these 30,000 leads out there and saying, well, now of course our sales teams cannot follow with everyone, so we need to qualify, and we need to have MQL, we need to have SQL, we need to have all these things. But if it's the qualified account that everybody has already said, yeah, if that person comes through the inbound channel, why would you go through the SDR qualification and AE qualification? You just need to jump on it right now and talk to that person.
Let me solve your problem.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of account-based marketing. It makes the buying process so much easier for everyone, for the company, for the sales rep, for the marketer, for the customer. So it is really bringing all those teams together, and we don't have to worry about credit anymore. It's not about whether the marketing team brought it in or the salesperson brought it in. You're co-creating the value together and making it happen together. If you bring marketing in up front. Right? That is also the tendency that we see sometimes, where, sales will say, yeah, we want to do account-based marketing, and here's the accounts that we've selected, and here's what we want you to do for those accounts. Like, wait a second, bring us in at the beginning, let us help you. And that was one of the things where marketing drove a lot of value at Centrica. When we started doing this last year, we did some account profiling. And we helped to say where they would fall on a matrix between, how much room do they have to grow? What kind of revenue are they spending on energy services? There's a lot of data out there that you can actually pull to get some of this information and say, well, actually, there's a lot of room to grow here. Okay, these are good accounts to go after. And our sales team really was taken aback when they saw some of that data, thinking, oh, I really wanted to go after company X, and you're telling me that's not a good company to spend time on. And so we came to kind of an understanding of which accounts we were going to go after, and it was a much better process.
So are you then creating kind of a framework around the intent signals, the buy signals out there to help your sales reps focus on accounts?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest deliverables of marketing's responsibilities in a account-based marketing program is to give account insights and help the sales rep understand what these buying signals are. And I mean, I'm not paid to say this, but I love the Sales Digest from Turbine Labs because you're welcome. And I truly mean that. I think it solves one of the biggest issues. And when we first rolled this out last year, the marketing team and our marketing development reps were spending a lot of time doing this account research, stakeholder mapping, who are the right C-suite contacts that we need to start nurturing and getting them to download things and come inbound. And it took a lot of time away from other activities, but we didn't want to put that burden on sales either. And so having something that's automated or using a tool that can help deliver that right to the salesperson's inbox and the assigned account-based marketer is priceless. I mean, it's worth every penny because you're only going to make the team more efficient. And the more efficient the team is, the more effective we are with the customer.
Because I think there's that balance between the one thing we don't do very well as salespeople sometimes is viciously disqualify opportunities where we want to hang on just a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. But I would imagine with account-based, with the whole concept of ABM, you're forcing me as a rep to kind of look at my accounts and go, why are you still holding on to this? And so with that, Segun, within your best practices, how do you go in talking to a new client for the very first time to, really look at this, holistically as you build out the platform within the company? And I guess the other question I have, and I apologize, where do you pull in the sales leadership at the same time?
It's great. Both are great questions. And what's interesting about it is that I've not seen having 1,000 customers at Terminus, doing 600 podcast episodes on Flip My Funnel, on ABM. Like, I've not seen a single company successful doing ABM that didn't have sales and marketing 100% aligned with the numbers. Mm-hmm. Not a single. Okay. So what that means is that sales and marketing does not have a different number. They just don't. They have the same exact number, or at least that team that is supposed to do account-based marketing has the same exact number goal. They might be aligned to the growth team. They might be aligned to the enterprise team. They might be aligned to different teams in order based on how are the organizations, big and small, or organized. But they all have the same thing. And the reason I bring that up is because going back to the aligning sales and marketing with ABM as the topic, I feel that part is still missing in most organizations who say ABM doesn't work for me. Like, I literally got that yesterday, and even on one of the other master classes I was doing, is like, it's not working for me. I'm like, okay, well, what's not working for me? Well, one of them idea was what exactly Karen you said. Well, sales gave us the list, and they say now these accounts are not important. Well, that's your problem, right? Yeah. Or they're saying, hey, now marketing is doing all these things, but sales are not following. Well, that they're not doing what Karen just recommended, giving them sales insights so the account person on that particular account knows when his account is lit and they need to go after that account, right? So there are so many small micro decisions and touch points and handoffs. It's like a relay match, right? You're constantly passing out, and your team is only as strong as good as you're passing the information around with each other. As soon as you drop it, somebody drops it, you can't finish the whole thing around there. So I've seen this happen more often than not, that they don't have the right numbers. The sales team doesn't even know what marketing is really doing outside of that weekly email or something that says we're doing 3 webinars, 2 ebooks, 1 blog post, and 1 social thing. Great, thank you so much. And they just move on working on their account. We got to stop that.
Okay, no, that's good.
I'm laughing because I do put out a monthly newsletter. There's great information in it, and I can't see why no one reads it sometimes.
Yeah, most people, and that so because you couple that with intent data and giving the salespeople what they need, they're like, okay, now that's air cover to me. Your monthly email is the air cover they absolutely need, but what closes, what puts food on the table for them are the insights that you're giving them on the deals that they need to close that month or that quarter. Otherwise, they don't have a job.
Right.
So I think the combination, a lot of people just do the top, but don't do the one that's really where the rubber meets the road.
So then how do you measure that ROI then? in that investment into an ABM platform?
I mean, from the buyer's perspective, you have to totally shift the conversation around metrics, right? And I love what Sangram said about you have one number. We're all one team. In this case, Team Centrica Business Solutions. Let's get it done, right? But it usually is a conversation about number of emails you sent, number of MQLs, SQLs. It's all volume based. And in this case, it might be 6 accounts. When you start, you're going to want to pilot and you're going to want to start small. And you might have 6 accounts that you've said, that's our account-based marketing program. And we're just going to go after these 6 specifically. Well, now I need to know for those 6 accounts, what's the size of the deal? Are they taking more products? Are they moving through the funnel faster? Do I have the right C-suite contacts? Because that was one of the things that we've always found, either in telecom. When I was in telecom, everyone talked to the IT director. That was it.
Right.
And I'm trying to work with the sales team, say, no, you have to go up the stream, right? Let's talk to the C-suite. These are multiple $million-dollar business solutions. Yeah. And sometimes the IT manager can't make that decision. It's the same thing in energy. We're talking to the energy manager when we need to be talking to the COO. And so marketing can really help cultivate those relationships, find the right people, bring them in so you can nurture and have those conversations.
Okay, all right. And I had a question on the back end of that. So, if you're looking at ABM in the marketplace, is there a certain size company that should look at to embrace ABM, or is ABM important for anyone, regardless of the size of the organization?
You share your thoughts first.
Yeah, okay, I'll go for it. ABM is not for everybody.
Okay.
Straight up. If companies are saying a freemium product or a $10 a month like Calendly as your, to get your calendar set up, or $100 or something like that, it's not possible for you to have this much amount of time, energy, resources into it. You'll be wasting money. What I've seen, not having done super detailed surveys, like if your organization's typical deal size is at least $50K and above, that's what I've seen where it starts to make a lot more sense. Less than $50K, it sounds interesting, but you're still in a transactional business model where if you solve a problem and people can probably buy a $3,000, $2,000 product and see and test and move on. But if it's more than $50,000, now we're talking about the real stuff. Now, here's the flip side of it. HubSpot, let's just take that as an example since we all know. If they're a big company, they're a public company, they obviously have great revenue, big sales team and all that. Because they sell 80-90% of the people that buy from HubSpot are SMB or really, really small 1 or 2 or small, very small agencies, HubSpot may not be the best customer for doing ABM because they're still doing transactional. So they do all these brand-oriented initiatives. But on the flip side of that is an agency that might be a 10-people agency, but are closing $100,000 deal or a $500,000 deal. To them, I don't think they can do or live without ABM. They're actually doing it. They just don't call it that because they're doing what Karen just mentioned, billing relation at all different levels. Like the best sales reps, this is what they do. They find a deal. They look at all the executives in our company and who are connected with make those connections and shut up. Right? Like that's what the best sales do. Right. So that's what account is. So I think it's the $50,000 I've seen is a starting point for making it really meaningful. And anything above that, I think it's like absolute.
So Karen, when you spoke about, the metrics there, having one number, you guys both agree to that. Does that number besides revenue also include NPS?
So glad you brought that one up. Absolutely. And, what's interesting is when you look at NPS, at least for us, that data lived in a different system. And that was one of our challenges when we initially started the program was where are we going to get all the data and the metrics to really track the program and make sure we have, a way to read out to leadership and keep everyone informed. And so we had to work with the customer insights team to get that data. And then we had to work with the operations team to get it into Salesforce so that we could easily see how our clients, valued us. And that will play into which accounts you maybe want to work with. I mean, if you're working on changing your perception, it's probably okay to choose some of those accounts that aren't so happy with you, because that's what you want to do, is change your perception. But if you're trying to grow wallet share and they don't like you very much, probably not the account you want to put in your account-based marketing program.
Okay. All right.
So it's really important, and I don't think I said this, but it's really important that this becomes a business initiative, and it's not just a marketing initiative.
Right.
And so when I was at Verizon, this was before they called it ABM. We were doing ABM, but we didn't even know we were doing ABM.
You were cool kids before it was cool. I got it.
Exactly. So we called it Return to Growth, and we basically churn modeled out our top 100 accounts. And we saw how much we were going to lose from them if they continued on the trajectory that they were on. And so we started out, of course, as a sales and marketing program, as all ABM programs do. And then we realized how upset many of these customers were when we started looking at that CSAT data. They were not happy with us. And so we partnered with our customer service team, and we actually carved out a few team members and made them a white glove team who only handled this top 100 accounts. Now, they would actually do outbound health checks once a month, make sure the account was happy, and if something came inbound from one of them, they were immediately transferred to the white glove team and handled, and it was resolved quickly. You can't do that if it's just a sales and marketing program. But when it's a business initiative, you can bring together all the stakeholders and all the players and really have an impact for that customer as well as for your business.
Okay.
Yeah. When you say business, just if I can follow up on that, Karen, when you in your organization are doing metrics, and I'm sure you're sharing a lot of metrics with your team internally, externally. I'm curious, outside of the revenue or the pipe number, are there other ABM metrics that you share that you feel like, oh, that's helps, or do you feel like the more metrics, this actually makes things worse?
Yeah. Oh, good point. So we have super secret marketing metrics that we don't share always, but we kind of use for our own leading indicators and, things that like, oh, did that person look at something on social? The senior leaders don't need to know that, but we need to know that.
Yeah.
So I do think you have to be careful, and you'll learn as you go through this. I mean, when we started, we were very methodical, and we had short-term metrics, mid-term metrics, and long-term metrics, because we knew that there were things. There's no way I can tell you if the velocity of this account in the first 3 months is any better than it was a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Things take time. These account-based marketing programs are not quick wins. They're not top of the funnel fillers. They are long-term revenue generating programs that deepen relationships. And so making sure that everyone has that mindset, then people will start to get comfortable with the numbers. But I also would say it isn't just numbers. There's a lot of anecdotal information that comes out of these programs, and you have to find ways to share that. So just one quick example, we did a strategy day in the UK for one of our key accounts, and we had invited them to a strategy day, and they declined initially. And then after we put together a letter from our managing director right to their CEO and took a second stab at it, he then agreed. And to us, like, you don't really find that in a CRM system, but that was a huge win for us.
Yeah.
That person was willing to take, a half day and come out and spend time with our leadership team, our product development team, and really understand their needs and co-create a solution for this customer. So don't discount some of that anecdotal information, because I think it's really valuable, especially in the early days when you're trying to prove out the value of a program like this.
Okay.
I love that. One of the things we do is, I have been doing this for now about 6 months. I wish I would have started this way earlier. And now I would encourage every marketer to do that, is almost create a swipe file of things that happen. So anything good that happens, or any conversation on Slack or on social or anything, I have like this now 200 slide deck that's just a Google deck that has all these screenshots of it, because you're right, not everything can be measured. Yeah. And not specifically on the day of the presentation that you need to do to your boss. Like it's not all there that day. So I think the point, hopefully nobody misses what you just said, Karen, around milestones. Really, one of the greatest fallacies I think has been for like, all right, we're doing ABM, so things are going to be great, and we're going to close big deals, and things are just rocking, right? And we all know that's not true. But what happens is you got to have these milestones and set expectations. This is where a lot of people fall off is, yes, we are doing account-based and we are going to be one team and we have the one number, one goal. But here's what we're expecting. In the next 3 months, really all we expect, or next 3 weeks, however you want to do that based on your sales cycle, we want to see this level of engagement. Then in the next 3 weeks, now if we see this, then we're going to start doing so and so in order to get to the next level. So I think that setting expectation part is where I failed, and I've seen a lot of people continue to follow through that. Is like, oh, we're going to do ABM. We've seen these case studies after case studies of companies changing and turning a corner. Not immediately. You need to set expectations.
So then how do you go back? So what's the cadence then to get back in front of the sales team to kind of continue to reset those expectations? Because from a sales perspective, I got this new system, this new platform. I'm going to start closing deals pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I'm 6 months into it, and I'm still slowly making my way through the process. But I got to put all this information into the platform.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to wonder, do I even need this? It's almost like when people started using CRMs years ago. It was just more of a management tool than it was a sales enablement tool. So how do you go back in and set the focus back at the sales team when they're slogging through this at the beginning?
Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I am, because I had a little visitor, a child.
We should have brought them in.
The joys of working from home, right? Sorry about that. So, yeah, I think it depends on the organization, right? And it goes back to the culture a little bit. Is the sales and marketing team truly aligned? Does everyone understand the program? And there is a level of training and stakeholder management that I think has to happen up front. Just create that buy-in and truly understand what people should expect from something like this. But I think if you're co-creating and you're doing this together, then you're going to be educating sales the whole way and showing them an easier way to do their job, right? Like even just with the insights, if I've now just saved you hours of research, you're going to be happy, right? You're going to want in. Other reps start to bang down the doors. I mean, that's what you want, right? To say, well, wait, how do I get my account into this program? Because, I was just talking to Russell and he's got this awesome printout of everything you could ever want to know about his key account. How do I get that for mine? And once you start to roll out the campaigns and you start to create this hyper-personalized content, other people see that and go, well, I want that for my account. And so I think, it's a journey, it's an evolution. And if you go on that journey together, I think you'll have less resistance and chances of the sales team walking away.
You said this one word several times. I think it's great. It's co-creating. And I think that's how you get successful is you create this together.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to get people to move in that direction until you start seeing some wins.
Yeah. It does. And if you think about for me, the best way, if somebody's like listening to this and saying, all right, we're on this journey, we're ready to go on this and starting to look at it, I would echo what Karen just said. Find your Joe and Sally in your organization that you really enjoy spending time with on the sales team. They're great. They will talk to you. You can talk to them. There's an animosity. They're just great. If you ask them, what are your top 3 or 4 accounts? I guarantee you they will tell you without even looking at a spreadsheet or CRM or anything. They know what their top 3 accounts are they need to close for their quarter. Maybe 10 accounts, they will be able to tell you that. Now go and do what we're talking over here. Do the most unscalable thing, like the email that needs to go to the CEO or the connection that needs to happen on LinkedIn, or taking an ebook and turning that into an ebook just for that particular industry in that particular sector in that particular region, and resend that after reskinning it, as opposed to creating top of just overarching stuff. Do some of those unscalable things. And I've seen this over and over again. Those 2, Joe and Sally, they will see movement at a minimum. If nothing else, they will see engagement and movement, and they will be the loudest voices for you to go and do. So I never tell anybody, say, go. I would never recommend anybody. I used to, but I no longer recommend anybody to go in the organization and say, hey, we're going to do ABM and we're going to change the world. Like, please don't do that. Like, just don't. Like, it's a recipe for everybody looking at you about to fall down.
Right.
Opposed to go and say, hey, I want to do a pilot program. And you don't have to even, as soon as you use the word pilot, that's another word. If it's like co-create, nobody has a problem with that. I'm just going to work with you and Sally. Just let me do this thing, and I'm going to test. You don't have to ask for permission, and you find success, and everybody comes back to you, as Karen said, saying, why can't you do it for everybody?
Yeah.
So Karen, in your journey over the years doing this, what has been your greatest challenge? I mean, let's say there's buy-in from sales and marketing. Everyone's, there's that kumbaya moment. Everyone's happy, but there's still challenges in getting this moving in the right direction. So what have been some of those obstacles that you faced?
Yeah, and it's not uncommon. So I share the sentiments of some of the surveys that have been done by ITSMA, where they cite that ABM marketers say the number one challenge is personalization. And especially when you're doing one-to-one, right? So I don't think we've discussed it, and depending on, some of our viewers today and their knowledge of account-based marketing, there's usually 3 flavors. One-to-one is where you're basically marketing to one account and you're treating it as a market of its own. And then there's one-to-few where you maybe cluster, 5 to 15 accounts together that all have similar drivers and similar needs. And then there's one-to-many. That could be 1 to 50, 1 to 100, 1 to thousands, I've seen some programs. But as you up that pyramid and you really get into the one-to-one space, personalization becomes such a challenge, because what's overkill? What's not enough? Finding that balance between how much time and energy you want to put against that account and where that budget's going to come from to make that customized video, where maybe you could have just taken a video you already had and then just recorded someone up front to do the intro. And I think that's one of the challenges that we continue to face. I mean, personalization used to just be an email with someone's name. Karen, right? No, that's not what we're talking about when we say personalization.
Yeah, and that would still go wrong, right? You'll misspell it, like, with someone like my name. Like, okay, well, that's not starting at the right place.
Yes, or I get like the last name instead of the first name. I mean, there's so many ways that personalization can go wrong. So it's finding out how much do you really need to do, and then dedicating the time and the energy and the resources. I know, at least, from some of the organizations and peers that I've talked to, it's called account-based marketing. So everyone assumes marketing knows how to do it. So it's a marketing program. They must know how to do this. Unfortunately, no one trained us. No one taught us this. And there are defined steps, from some of the thought leaders when you think about doing an account-based marketing program. What is the proper way to run these campaigns, run these plays? And so it can go a long way to just go train one of your marketers, and they can bring the intel back to the rest of the team, and it'll be money well spent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. One thing, when you talk about challenges, and I'm curious, Karen, if you or Russell, you have seen this. I was just drawing as you were talking about this is somebody on my team, when they were actually in the trenches building this one-to-one, one-to-few, one-to-many campaigns, because that's a key area to dive into. But they said something that I didn't think about, just because I'm talking about it. I'm not necessarily always doing everything. So when you talk to a practitioner, you're like, aha, that's super smart. And then I go try to say that as if I'm smart. So credit to Tori, who actually gave me this illustration. Tori said, you don't have to do everything to everyone at the same time. And what he was really showing me was like, hey, look, for example, for this, let's just say one-to-few thing, let's say you have 50 accounts that you're going after, or one-to-many in that case, you can start with very high-level ads and emails. Let's just take that as a highest part of the one that will cost you the lowest amount of money, that can be done at a very high scale. You don't have to go one-to-one ad at the moment, but you can still do brand ads and as an example. But you do that, and you can literally, like tomorrow, you can light up that program and go with it. But then as soon as you see some light there, let's say out of those 50 accounts, 5 of those accounts, you're starting to see people are engaging from that account or coming to your website. Hopefully you have that tracking there. That's when you start adding the video as an example to it. It's like, okay, now the sales rep should be informed that, hey, there's a heartbeat over there from one of your top accounts. So maybe you do a video. And then maybe after that is the next level up, saying that, okay, of these 2 accounts that really started to have more than 1 people engaged, now maybe we should do direct mail. And to me, when he shared that process of how he was going after the manufacturing industry at that time, that made a lot of sense. Like, okay, so you can literally light up 1,000 accounts. That's when it made sense. And then narrow down the companies that actually are connecting with you, and then start with this personalization. So I don't know if that makes sense, if that's something that either of you have seen happen.
No, it does make a lot of sense. We have about 5 minutes. This has
Oh,
been
wow, we just went through
a great conversation. So here's what I'd like to do before, give you each, a couple of minutes here to talk before we wrap up. Sagar, I'd like to start with you. Where do you see the future of ABM?
I wrote a book on that. ABM is B2B.
I was going to say, you're writing the books about it and evangelizing it. So, what do you see happening in the next 24 months?
Yeah, I think it's going to be part of a go-to-market strategy. I see people from field marketing, which is why I was really excited to hear Karen's background. Is I think those are the people who are going to really carry the torch and become the next ABM CMOs. I feel that's where I will see promotions happening from companies, because people who have that ABM title and have done it for a couple of years, they really understand sales. And if you know sales as a marketer, you will eventually become a CMO in your organization. So I feel like it's a fast track to become a CMO for marketers if they want to think about it. So individually, I feel it's a great time to be a marketer doing ABM if you want to be a CMO. And 2, I don't think ABM will 2 years, 3 years from now would be even a phrase. I think that's why I wrote the second book. It's like, I think it's just B2B. It's just better to better marketing and get people to do a smarter way of getting to your customers.
All right, outstanding. And Karen, what is it that you want to see in an ABM solution, for the next 24 months?
Well, interesting.
Yeah, I'm taking notes as you're talking about solution over there.
You know what? I think it is really hard, because each solution, there's so many solutions, and each one has a pillar or one sliver of the value chain and what we need to do our job. So I would love like a super vendor who just kind of comes in and goes, well, we're just going to do it all for you, right? And it's one platform. That's wishful thinking. But probably what I would say, not so much in terms of the vendor, but even where I see ABM really adding value to clients and customers is the end user, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about them. And we've seen this in our company where we've started to focus on specific accounts and deepen relationships. And they told us about things we didn't even know they needed. And then we're able to create new products and solutions and really prioritize our account or the roadmap, of what we're going to develop to meet the needs of our biggest and best customers. And there's so much value in this type of program, not just on the revenue number, but actually to delight and surprise your customers and really be there for them and help them do their jobs better. And that's what I like so much about ABM.
Okay, that's really good. Again, I want to thank both of you. This has been a great conversation this afternoon. We're down to about a minute or so to go here. But again, this has been outstanding. I've learned a lot. And, as a good salesperson, I try to keep my mouth shut to most of the conversation and just listen. Because I remember back in the day where it was called account-based selling, way back when. And I understand the concept, but I also see the value with more of the ABM, kind of that integration between the two. And I love the term co-creating, because, that's the only way that we're going to be successful and deploying any solution within an organization, regardless if it's ABM, CRM, so I thank you both for attending today, and I wish you all the very best.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I wrote down the co-creating. I think that's a great phrase to leave everybody with. That's fantastic.
So we'll bring your next book?
I don't know. I've been thinking about this boring to better as an idea, because I feel like marketing is getting too boring.
When I saw, when the first thing thing when I start looking at ABM, I'm thinking always be marketing.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Or one that I've seen that we have started to do, which is all about margaritas. Depend what time of the day you get to talk about it.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys, and thanks to the audience. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
You too.